Friends with benefits. A very likely unexpected title for a spiritual video. And there's a reason behind the title. It's always so cool to me how just very ordinary, seemingly mundane moments in life can lead to wonderful insights opening when you least expect them. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and we didn't explicitly talk about the term friends with benefits, but you know, like what that means in the context of our society, friends with benefits, like that was part of the conversation, and that phrase came to me later. I don't know if you can see that there's a little bee buzzing around my phone. I think the camera caught it. Friends with benefits. Hello. So I want to talk about this term probably in an unexpected way as it relates to awakening. You may not think it relates to awakening, and you know, it really doesn't in our typical context, but I want to draw some parallels here, and I'll likely weave in parts of my own story here as well. Also, change of scenery, if you didn't notice. I'm out on my deck, out in the woods, my ceremony deck. It's really beautiful out here and peaceful. It's my little sanctuary. So when I think about the term friends with benefits as we use it in our Western context, I guess really the way that I'm going to speak about it and the context that it came up in and what it opened in me having this conversation with somebody is wanting to, wanting something, wanting the goods, but wanting to keep our options open. That's really what that is. And so by that definition, maybe it's obvious how that relates to an awakening journey or to seeking. Maybe it's not. That's okay. I'll get into that. So we want the goods, but we also want to stay comfortable. We want to keep our options open. We want the goods, but we don't want to commit. We don't want to go all in. We want to wake up, but behaviorally in practice, we're snuggled up in bed and we're too comfortable to open our eyes and get up. I know that's been the case for me for a lot of this. And as it relates to my own story, particularly around shamanism, psychedelic shamanism, Like, that has been such a grace in my life. Because it was a forcing function. It's been a forcing function to not keep options open, spiritually, metaphorically, you know. Because in this path, on this awakening journey, if what you really want is the truth, everything will have to be given up. Every way that you identify, every way that you know yourself, every belief, every coping mechanism, every way that you hide, and so this phrase brought me deep clarity. Surprisingly, it's so hilarious how that happens. You know, there's been things in my own life that I've been grappling with, or just waiting, you know, waiting for clarity to emerge around. And that phrase was so helpful. Like, outside of the context of the way that we use it, even in that context, you know, just being so honest with myself that in my life, I don't want friends with benefits. And the way that I mean that is, you know, maybe in the traditional terms, in the Western terms, but also, you know, shamanism and creating this space, creating Hollow Bone Ranch has been my death process, truly. It has consumed me from the inside out. It consumed Jennifer. It stripped everything away. Like, I've truly walked through fire. And at a certain point, the thing is, there's not judgment in saying this, but at a certain point it becomes very easy to spot or to see that another has not walked through fire. That another has not stripped themselves bare, ripped them, you know, that life has not gutted them, ripped them apart, torn apart their identity. It becomes very easy to see that, you know, to see little coping mechanisms and masks. It's like a felt thing in the body that can be felt, but also like a weird thing in the voice that I've noticed, that people's voices change when they swap their masks out or put on a mask. Or just wear one all the time. I hope you can hear the sound of the water in the background. It's so calming. It's so relaxing and beautiful. The cicadas in the background. I love this time of summer and the cicadas are out. So this clarified for me, that I don't want friends with benefits in my life. And as it relates to this place, whatever the heck is going on here. Whatever the heck this turns into. You know, I've had a handful of people already express interest in, you know, being involved, possibly facilitating. And so that's been something I've been contemplating, is what this place is, what feels alive here, what feels alive in terms of inviting another energy into it. I don't want friends with benefits. Because waking up is a path that's walked completely alone, that walks you through fire. And it can be easy for us to look to teachers. I'm not saying that I am that. I don't claim to be that. I'm not really interested in being that, to be honest. This is just a sharing. But you know, when we're waking up, we often look to teachers like they have something to give us. Like we want to reap the benefits of their process. Like we want to be near them, or we just keep listening to them over and over and over, keeping the seeker alive, keeping that seeking energy very much alive. And oftentimes in doing so, avoiding walking through fire, walking through our own fire, turning and facing our own life. And walking through fire. Burning our identity from the inside, or allowing life to do so. Becomes a way to avoid. So in a way, we kind of like, in a weird way, we kind of often, I'm not saying this happens all the time, but likely unconsciously, and maybe this is a certain part of this phase, I know that I did it, you know, with Henry and with various other teachers that I listened to. We turn our teachers into friends with benefits. Like, we want the goods. We want what they have. We want what they have to give us. But we're not willing to give anything up. We don't want to give anything up. We don't want to give up our options or our perceived autonomy or freedom. And I'm not saying that you should give up your autonomy, because you shouldn't. Never. That's not something that you should ever give up to somebody. So I just want to be clear when I say perceived autonomy, because that may be different than actual autonomy. It could be. I don't know. You hear the woodpecker? This started happening, I don't know, a year and a half ago, but every time I heard a woodpecker, for some reason, I think this is from the Gospel of Thomas, I believe. It's one of my very favorite texts. It's so beautiful. Every time I hear a woodpecker, just something this quote rises up out of me: the one who knocks, to that one will it be open. I actually got a sign made. I don't know if you can see this. So this is gonna get hung on my deck. I don't know if You can see that it's a beautiful wood burn sign. But I think that also speaks to what I'm sharing. The one who knocks, to that one will it be open. At first, I thought that the one who was knocking was me. And then me disappeared. So who's the one knocking? Who's the one knocking when identity is so thin that it's barely there? Who is it? Is it Rumi that says, he has a short little poem. I can't remember like the whole thing. It's only a few lines though, something about I was knocking at a door. It opened. I was knocking from the inside. I think I probably got that wrong, but something about knocking from the inside. So this term friends with benefits, I suppose that there's an invitation here to ask yourself, what are you looking for? Are you willing to stand 2 feet in the fire and be consumed by truth? Or do you want friends with benefits? Do you want the goods without having to give anything up? Without having to change anything about the way that you want things to be? You know, I guess too is that relates to just my own experience in this place. You know, I've been around retreat spaces where the focus was healing and transformation. And I've been around a lot of people oriented that way. And that's wonderful. I think that it's wonderful that those things exist in the world. That's for most people. But I knew intuitively in my body, being around those types of things, that wasn't how my path would be oriented. That's not what felt real and alive and authentic for me. That my work is about truth. Real shamanism. Shamanism is an ancient path to truth, to awakening. I think it was Alan Watts who said that the shamans went out into the forest alone to discover their face before their grandfather was born, to discover who they were before their grandfather was born. And if you think about it in that ancient context, being away from the tribe, especially in geographic regions like the Amazon, that was survival. That was a death sentence. It stripped away the most fundamental identification, security, community, reliance on others, tribe. It stripped away everything. That's what this process is. It's not sexy. But it's also the thing is, it's also not unattainable. You know, to say that it's only for some people, that awakeness is only for some special people, is wrong. Flat out wrong. Because awakeness is the foundation. It's the foundation of what you are. But there has to be a willingness, and life will ask. Or grace, maybe grace will descend upon you the way that it has for me. Fierce grace. Adyashanti uses that term, and I think he said he got it from Ram Dass, fierce grace. Life will ask for your willingness, for your yes to giving up everything. Full yes, no reservations. That's not to say that initially maybe there aren't reservations or that there won't be fear. It will ask you for your commitment. It will ask you if you're serious, if how much you want this. And I'm not saying that this is going to be what everybody's path is, but you know, I've been contemplating what it would mean to invite somebody into this, and you know, this is not how this would actually look, but shamanism right now in the West is very sexy. Would you still want to be a shaman if it meant giving away $20,000 with like a 50-50 chance that you would either maybe get some of it back or that nothing would come of it? And that plus going to live in the woods for a year alone, and that maybe you would never facilitate a single ceremony. Would you still want to be a shaman? So why do you want to be a shaman? Why do you want to be awake? Who is it that wants to be awake? Whose glory is being sought? Waking up requires walking through fire, and shamanism and Hollow Bone Ranch just happened to be my furnace for my life. It's going to be different for everybody. But in your own unique way, in life's unique way through you, grace will descend upon you, and you will be given opportunity after opportunity to give everything away. Maybe not physically. It may not be that you physically give away all your possessions and renunciation of everything. But what will be asked is a willingness. And you can say that you're willing. You know, a mind can say that it's willing. An ego can say that it's willing. But what are words if not backed up by behavior? That's the level of willingness. There's not just a willingness to say it, but there's actually a willingness, a complete willingness to follow through. That's not to say that you will be required to follow through or that that's how things will play out, but a willingness. The birds chirping are really beautiful. The one who knocks, to that one will it be opened. Are you seeking awakening because you want to be friends with benefits with it? You want the goods without giving anything up? Without destroying yourself? And I make this sound so gruesome. And in a way, at least for me it was. I'm sure it's not that way for everybody. But it's one of those really beautiful things that with every death was such a freedom. More freedom, like such a deeper freedom. And so, like, the pain and the freedom were almost inseparable for me. So yes, there's pain, but you can handle it. You can handle a lot more than you think. The one that you really are can handle everything. Because it is everything. Something wouldn't be happening if it couldn't handle it. You have to be willing to not be liked. Like in this willingness, like there has to be a telling the truth. And sometimes that telling the truth is going to push people away that don't want to hear the truth or that aren't interested in the truth. And there has to be a willingness for that too. I think a lot of times, I know at least for me, like getting back to the Western context of friends with benefits, you know, when I was younger, that was just something that I don't know that I really wanted. I've never really been oriented that way, but I did because I was afraid of being rejected, of being alone. That's how I was conditioned to seek love, to seek a sense of security and okayness. And in speaking the truth of, this is what I want, this is what's true, all your cards are on the table, there's no control. You're opening yourself to rejection. You're opening yourself to criticism or to judgment or to not being liked. That's part of the willingness. I think that's all that I have. I will leave you with the quote from the Gospel of Thomas. I'll walk you over to it. The one who knocks, to that one will it be opened.